Well, welcome everyone. I'm Hugh Edwards from Gomo Learning, and welcome to our latest webinar. And today's webinar is about e-learning and the Great Resignation. And we'll be starting in just a few minutes. We've had a fantastic response to this webinar, so we're just going to give people time to tune in. And while we're doing that, if you've been to one of our webinars before, what we like to do while everyone's joining is to do a bit of a global weather report. So what we're going to do is that you'll find the questions panel in your GoToWebinar box there. And we're going to be using the questions panel as a way, obviously, for you to ask questions and comment on the webinar today. And to get everyone used to that, then maybe you could just find the question panel and just let us know where you are and what the weather is like there. And I can see that that somebody's saying that you're having problems with the audio, and let's just check whether we do have that. Those of you who joined, you'll see the little hand raiser. Oh, okay, that's fine. Yep, apparently the audio is fine now. So, but do just type in the question panel if you do have further audio problems. So let's get going with our global weather report while we wait for other people to join. So if you could just find that question panel and just let us know where you are and what the weather is like where you are. And just to kick off here, I'm in Brighton on the south coast of England, and it's a bit grey and overcast here at the moment, but that's what you would expect really at this time of year in England. And I can see that in Waterford it's sunny at the moment, and we've got Natalie in Newburyport, Massachusetts, where it's sunny and currently 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, and we've got Marky all the way from San Jose in California, and just after sunrise and some scattered clouds. Well, Marky, many thanks for tuning in so early in your day, and welcome to everyone around the world. If you're just joining, I can see that we've got lots of other people just tuning in here. Welcome to today's webinar. We'll be starting in just a few minutes, so we're just going to give some other people a chance to join. While we're doing that, if you just find the question panel in your GoToWebinar box, and if you could just let us know where you are and what the weather is like there. And also, Kathy, you're saying that you don't hear anything there. Let's just do a check here just to make sure that the technology is working. You'll see the little hand raiser box there, that if you can hear me, could you just raise your hand, just click the raise hand box, and we'll just check that people can hear us. I can see lots of hands going up there, so it looks like we do actually have the audio working. So Kathy, I'd suggest maybe if you're still having problems that maybe you could just try leaving and rejoining the webinar, and also you'll find an audio settings panel as well, just to check that it's that you've got the right speakers and headphones connected. So also, Jonathan is in Sheffield in England and saying that it's drizzle there. Yeah, I think it's that kind of day here in England. So it looks as if maybe we're not in the best place to get the best of the weather. And we can see more people joining. And again, welcome to everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are. Please feel free to find the questions panel there in the GoToWebinar box, and just let us know where you are and what the weather's like. And we'll be using the question panel both for you to be able to ask questions throughout the webinar and also to share your thoughts and experiences on today's topic. So we'll just give it another minute. You can see that we have lots more people just joining at the moment, and then we'll get started. And you can also see that it's sunny, it's grey in Nottingham, I suppose, yep, not too far from Sheffield in England. So it looks as if we're all sharing the same weather over on this side of the pond. Okay, well, thank you very much for waiting, everyone. We will now start today's webinar. So today we're looking at e-learning and the Great Resignation, and in particular, how to retain staff and overcome your L&D team challenges. I'm Hugh Edwards from Gomo Learning, and those of you who've already attended previous webinars will already know Simon Waldrum, our Customer Success Manager. But today we're delighted to be joined by Mark Probert, who's the VP of Revenue at our sister company, Bridge. Mark's worked in learning and talent for 15 years, holding a range of roles from building an LMS and authoring tool to running a content design studio. And Mark's seen many different ways in delivering successful learning and talent initiatives and technology. And now he's leading the Bridge team in supporting customers transforming their performance and learning technologies. And let's just have a look at exactly how we all work together. So at Bridge and Gomo, that we're all part of the Learning Technologies group of companies. And I'm sure that you'll be familiar with many of the names here. So companies such as Rusticy and Watershed, and also our colleagues at Leo. And we're all part of LTG and all work very closely together. And we're delighted that Mark was able to join us today to add his expertise to this subject. So let's just have an overview about what we'll be looking at today. So what we're looking at here is to see whether your workplace is seeing an unprecedented surge in talented people quitting. And if so, you might be falling victim to what's called the Great Resignation. It's a movement causing serious issues for companies as people exit their roles en masse. We feel that providing valuable training can help retain existing workers and attract new ones. But how can you roll out training at the pace that's needed without it losing impact? And what if the recruitment has left your L&D team understaffed and struggling to keep up? So in this webinar, that we hope you'll learn more about what's causing the Great Resignation, and that you'll understand the importance of e-learning at this time, and find out how to get impactful training out fast, and also to discover how to plug the gaps in your own team to make it happen. And I just want to hand over to Simon, who's going to run us through today's agenda.
Thank you very much, Hugh. I can also add, not being too far from Nottingham myself, it is 10 degrees, it's a little cold, it is grey, and I think we're sharing that weather across most of England. So it's always interesting seeing that global weather report. But leading on to the agenda here, absolutely to follow on, we're going to be taking a look at what is the Great Resignation. We're going to have a look at how we can help you generate ideas about what you can do to train to retain your staff. We'll take a deeper dive into what are those recruitment struggles within your L&D teams? Also the wider recruitment crisis, and actually how great it is to set a foundation for success right now. And importantly, on top of all of that, some advice about things that you can do right now to support your teams. So we're going to start with Mark, who's going to take a look at what is the Great Resignation.
Thanks, Simon, and Hugh, guys. It's a pleasure to be able to come and talk about this with the audience today, as well as yourselves. And I'm coming at this a bit from not only having experience in the space, but also being a leader in my business. This is of a significant importance to me. And I'm experiencing the factors that the Great Resignation creates and how I'm dealing with that. And as Simon said, one of the things that I'm keen to do today is to try and give you guys some things that you can be thinking about to help address this problem. And I think over the last couple of months, we've all heard the term the Great Resignation, the big quit, whatever you want it to be called. But I think obviously a good place for us to start is get a foundational understanding. It's like, what is it? When people say that, what does it actually mean? And the best way for me to kind of explain that is I've grabbed this chart, which I've used to help explain this. And I've done a couple of webinars on this over the past few weeks where I've been having these discussions, but this chart explains it the best, because if you think about people, employees, when is it that they want to quit their job? When they see opportunity, when the economy is right. And if you look at this chart, you can see where those grey areas are. There are times of economic instability. So if we look at that section between sort of 2008, 2010, it was the recession, right? It was the financial meltdown that we had. And obviously you can see the resignation rates fell off a cliff, and everybody was very, very worried about being able to keep their job, keep an income. I'm seeing notes that nobody's getting audio. I hope everyone can hear me. It'd be great if people can just confirm they can hear me again. Lynn, sounds like you're having challenges, but hopefully we'll be okay. But as I was saying here, you can see the resignation rates just really fell off a cliff during the financial crisis. And as we came out the back of that, you can see over the course of 2010 to 2020, that decade, employees got more confident and there was more opportunity, and they felt more comfortable leaving their current post and finding a new role. Now that was great. And then of course we hit 2020 and the pandemic came through. And naturally, as we've seen before, that trend remained the same. People got worried and they thought, I cannot quit my job right now. I'm going to stay where I am because I just need to get through this part of uncertainty, and I'm not sure what's going to happen to me. I just need to make sure I've got a job and I look after my income. And we see that, right? And it was a time of stability that we saw at the start of the pandemic. However, what the Great Resignation itself is all about is that spike you see right at the end. And you can see that we're now seeing resignation rates higher than we've seen them over the last 30 years. And that's an unusual phenomenon, considering that we've come out of well, we're still in the midst of a real uncertain economy right now. And why is it? What is it that's driving those behaviors that we're seeing from people in our team? And it would be great if you are experiencing this. Like, we're going to ask some polls to this, but obviously put in the chat your own experiences with some of this. And like, I'm pretty sure, like many of you, me as a leader, me as a manager, are very much experiencing and can resonate with this chart because I've seen it happen in my team and my business. So it'd be great to hear if anybody else has those experiences as well. So Hugh, let's move on to the next slide there. I wanted to pull out some stats, but really when I was looking through all the stats, there's a lot that are out there, but really this one is the most shocking. You'll see other stats as well, but this one comes from monster.com. And I take this and I ask you guys as managers, as leaders, as HR professionals, as L&D professionals, have a look at that statistic and think about it in the context of your own business. I look at it and I go, wow, 95% of the people in my team are considering changing their job. That's a very scary thought for me to have and really concerns me. And it puts pressure on me, and I really need to be thinking about what I can be doing as a leader, what we as a business can be doing to help retain our staff and look after them far better than we are now, so that statistic does not become a reality. Next slide, please, Hugh. So why is it that people are quitting? This is obviously the meat of this. Why are we seeing that big spike at the end of the chart? Well, I've pulled out 5 reasons. There are many more to these, of course, but here's 5 that either I've experienced or I'm really seeing in the market as well. One is backlog, one that I hadn't really considered before starting to do these webinars and thinking about it, which is actually there were many people before the pandemic started who were at the point of thinking about getting a new job. And many of them, as we saw in that chart, decided, actually, now's not the new time for me to be quitting and finding a new job, so I'm going to stay where I am. However, over that time, they've realized that, yeah, things might be okay for me. They've decided to take that leap of faith and go for a new job. So we're seeing the effects of that backlog now come through, much like we're seeing in the NHS with the backlog of patients. We're seeing that in terms of resignations as well. Burnout, probably all of us have experienced that, none more so than in healthcare and retail. Of course, that becomes a driving factor. It becomes very unenjoyable to work in a job where you experience total burnout all the time. So many people are looking for a new career where they're not going to have that. Pandemic epiphanies, I love this one, but many people look at it and will go, I've had that time on furlough and I've used that time to reflect on myself and my career. Do I really want to be a financial accountant, or do I want to be a gardener? I'm going to take this opportunity that the pandemic has created and change my career direction, and I'm going to quit my job. And we've seen a lot of that happening as well, which is a real tricky one to deal with, but certainly a major factor in that spike that we've been seeing, is that people have had that space and that thoughts, that time for thinking around their professional life. Work-life balance, one thing that we've all seen. We're working remotely. You can see the three of us remotely now, and I'm sure many of you are on the call as well. Having a work-life balance is incredibly rewarding. I went to the office last week and realized on the train on the way up to London, how on earth did I ever fit this commute in on a regular occasion? Really, really difficult to fit it into your schedule now when you try and go back to that normal way of working. So lots of people are looking for jobs where they can continue with that work-life balance as well. And of course, lastly, opportunity, the Great Resignation. People know that it's a hard market to recruit in, and they're taking that opportunity to go out there and take that next step in their career. So these are 5 that I'm certainly seeing and I'm experiencing as a leader. Would love to hear if you feel there's any more than this. But I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pass over to Simon, and because I'm pretty sure we want to run a poll. Is that right, Simon?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much, Mark. And I think everyone can associate with these and are certainly seeing this within their business and circle of influencers. So let's take a poll here and ask some of these questions around the Great Resignation. So the question we have at the moment is, are you seeing retainment and recruitment issues in your company? And it'd be really great if you could help us out here by understanding a little bit more about your challenges right now. So perhaps it's hitting you hard, or it could be that you have more vacancies than usual. Or maybe you aren't being affected yet, but you might feel that it's coming. Or also perhaps you don't think it will impact you. Please do select one of those for us. But also, if it's not covered within this poll, please use the chat to provide additional feedback for us. So we're just going to give everyone a few moments to have the opportunity to complete the poll. I can see as the poll is in progress at the moment, we certainly have many attendees here today that the Great Resignation is affecting. There's quite an interesting split happening here as well between having more vacancies available. We can see it's just coming up on the screen for you now. So at 33%, yes, it is hitting us hard at the moment. At 44%, there are more vacancies than usual. 11%, not yet, but you certainly feel like it will be coming and it will affect you. And at the moment, perhaps you don't think it will affect you. Now, I would be interested to learn more about that. Please do let us know in the chat so we can understand more about that. And hopefully today, what we should be able to cover for you is some of the things that other businesses are experiencing, some of the tools perhaps you could use to provide more engagement, but also some top tips by the end of this session that we can provide to you for things that you can do now to start having a positive impact on the Great Resignation and how it's affecting your business. So thank you very much for your feedback on the poll questions. And now we're going to take a look at train to retain. So reviewing your training and improving, increasing, or implementing it can make staff feel more valued and see the opportunity for learning and growth in their role. If businesses want to do this, then time is of the essence. As we're seeing in that poll now, so many people are being affected. So the need to focus on quick wins, rapid e-learning, and perhaps refreshing or recycling existing e-learning content has become more important than ever. And I hope we all agree that training has always had a huge role to play, and particularly in the fight back against the Great Resignation. In fact, a culture of learning can be a reason enough for people to stay. When workers are given learning opportunities, they're more engaged, and free time is more likely to intend to remain with the company for 2 years into the future. So we can start by bridging some of the gap with personalization. Helping learners stay engaged while working remotely has been difficult. As we can see here, there's all remote working at the moment. But personalization can actually increase engagement. It's important that your learning programs aren't a one-size-fits-all. learners should have the content and courses that are tailored to their individual needs and skills goals. Because when you invest in the right tools and the strategies to create personalized e-learning journeys, you can deliver targeted learning across your workforce. This could even include managers who might need additional training. How Mark spotted out earlier, perhaps burnout, what happens in those instances, providing training on that, or performance issues before they bubble over. It could simply be an entry-level worker who wants to advance in the company and needs to upskill themselves. So as we see people moving around, reevaluating what they need to do, perhaps there's training that will support that movement, but importantly, keep them within your business. So we can do that by enhancing that learner engagement. It's certainly recognized that there's a greater need for enhanced learner engagement to improve the overall learner experience. The ability to provide learners with localized content in multiple languages and with regional or cultural nuances in mind ensures that content is accessible for the various learning requirements. This could include displaying scenarios, imagery, assessments that are all relevant to that individual learner. With the pandemic or not, learning programs marched on and organizations were able to deliver more meaningful and personalized experiences. And it's important that still continues today. Personalized learning moves away from a sort of next type structure. And it's an important aspect of creating seamless learner journeys. Keeping learners engaged during remote work can be difficult, but personalization can help. It can increase engagement. An eLearn authoring tool that gives you the flexibility to create interesting, tailored content for an array of learners will help you create personalized learner journeys. Whether you're training a distributed team with staff across multiple continents or a small team that works from the same office, being able to offer that learning content that meets each learner's needs is key. That personalization, that targeting, make sure it's relevant to those individuals. So how can you personalize some of those learner journeys and how can it be adapted into your current programs? Well, if you're a learning designer, subject matter expert, someone that has access or is responsible for creating these learning materials, taking the time to understand individual learner needs and to create variables to tailor to their experience. You could even go as far as adding interactivity in a way of creating display conditions and build interactive screens so that you can craft a learner journey that maximizes that engagement and meets those individual learning requirements. Perhaps it's dynamic branching, scenarios, which can be explored by job role or location and provide relevant learning materials and blended learning opportunities for your curriculum. Moreover, the authoring tool can be packaged into a multi-language shareable content object. So you can include that role filtering, ensuring that content will be relevant as we've mentioned. For example, perhaps you've got employees across the world and you've got details of a financial product in Japan and it may be different from one in the US. Ensure your authoring tool can capture that information and provide it to your learner based on their selection throughout that learning journey. So continuing on that, let's think about how we can connect some of those performance goals with learning. And keeping it on simple terms that one of the goals of learning is to improve employee performance. And that's why it's so important to include the upskilling or reskilling, depending on the context, into the process when setting new performance goals. When learning content is relevant, it can be tied to positive outcomes and learners are more likely to engage. And we need to get people excited about learning new skills. Managers need to explain why employees should invest time in continuing education and make it measurable for the learner. As we've mentioned, we're all leaders, managers responsible for people in one way or another, and we want to keep them engaged. We want them to feel valued. And it might feel like it's a simple task, but it can be difficult to make sure that learning activities are directly related to the work that needs to get done. For example, if an employee is tasked with increasing revenue by 20% in 1 year, but they've never worked in sales before, you'll need to figure out how training will help them meet their goal, making sure it's tailored, specific, measured. And Managers, as we mentioned here, through managers, leadership, and so on, ensuring that we all become champions for ongoing development. And yes, this may take some time and effort on your end, but making the connection between the performance goals and learning is essential. Making sure that both yourself and the staff all understand what is expected of them. And something that can help you hit the ground running with that is reusing existing materials, but maybe refactoring them to become more like microlearning. So, how can that be adapted into your current program? Well, microlearning can be upcycled from any existing course material and converted into bite-sized training content. This gives learners quick, familiar content that is reinforced by repetition in smaller amounts of time being the key. You can also get started by taking perhaps long videos that you have, breaking them up into shorter, focused microlearning videos. If you're working with lots of written material, find specific sections or topics and create independent, concise courses or resources to support that. Taking the time to create microlearning opportunities can have big benefits for learners, such as targeting learning courses that can be used as refreshers to reinforce that learning. Increase completion rates as learners can access shorter bite-sized training materials from anywhere. And as we'll see from Hugh later on, doing that via mobile, tablet, desktop, but also increase retention rates of the material that learners are studying. Hopefully some of this common message that's coming through that I feel is really important, something that I certainly am a champion of and reinforce in our own business, is to create a culture of learning in the organization. Reviewing your training and improving it can make staff feel more valued. And as we mentioned, it's more likely that staff feel valued that they're going to stay with the business. It also helps them see the opportunities for learning and growth in their role, a key driver for employee happiness. And now isn't the time to wait on offering these opportunities either. We need to work on this now. Rapid e-learning, this can help us. This can help us focus on quick wins. And you can do that by recycling, as we've mentioned, perhaps outdated content, rebuilding it into microlearning. But your learning content should account first and foremost for the needs of these new learning requirements. This includes multi-device, as we mentioned, multi-language, and flexible learning content that provides a personalized learning experience. Creating a culture of learning in your organization can be challenging, but it's worth it. The right e-learning program can foster an environment that encourages employees to take advantage of the resources available to them. And you can start embracing this behavior by perhaps starting with including a strong onboarding program within the first 90 days for new hires, or setting up lunch and learns with rotating topics and featured subject matter experts from around the business. You may offer employees time off during the day so that they can attend online courses and webinars geared towards upskilling and reskilling within your organization. The big message here from my perspective is that the team that learns together stays together. Employees who learn and grow with their company are more likely to stay. If your workers love the purpose of their work, they're more satisfied and they stay with you for longer. Of course, if they can't find that purpose in your organization, they're going to seek it elsewhere. So it's important that giving people new opportunities to engage with learning can also help them identify other roles that they may be good at within your organization. Plus, employee happiness is the best tool in retaining and attracting top talent, even in the most uncertain times. So we're going to take an opportunity now to have a look at another poll. So over to you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Simon, and insightful stuff there. I think we can all agree with many of that, and that we want our teams to have that learning culture. But I guess with this poll, it would be very good if you can answer the question when this comes on screen. We're looking for what are the main blockers for improving or increasing training at your business. The pandemic has changed things, both in how you, the resources you've had, the budgets you've had, the people you use, your culture in the organization. Would be fantastic to get your input to this. I can see the votes starting to roll in, and it's interesting to see where these results are taking us. So good stuff. Yeah, so have a think about this. Think about it as yourself. If you are in L&D, what are the things that are blocking you? Is it performance data? Do you not have the data you need to effectively deploy that learning program? Not enough people in your team? Have you lost people during the pandemic? Have you been shrunk down and you're now a one-man band and you're on your own? Is it that you don't have the budgets to buy the tools, the resources, and the content that you need to help drive these initiatives? Or even reach? And I like this one. Reach for me is all about, do people know that that training is there? Do they know they've got opportunity to grow at your company? That's a real key one. Do you get support from a communications function to help drive that reach of your learning initiatives? And lastly, of course, being that we're a vendor that provides tools to help drive these initiatives. Do you have the tools, the capabilities to be able to deploy the things that you want to deploy? So last couple of seconds whilst we wait for those votes to come in, and Hugh, they can then switch over and give us a look at what they look like. Okay, very interesting split that we see there. So not enough data, quite clearly, is causing a problem for many people. Not enough L&D people. I think we've all been hit quite hard by some of the changes that recent activities have shown us, in that we have smaller teams and we've got to do more with what we've got. And of course, less budgets, again, another factor that's impacting us, that we would like to have more budget to do more and realize the stuff that we want to do. Of course, not enough reach and not enough tool capability. And really that shows me, like, people have the tools. Sometimes it's about having the people, the resources, the budgets to help effectively use them and deploy them better. But more importantly, as we're seeing there, using that data to help inform where you can best deploy your resources and your budgets as well. Interesting stuff. Of course, would love to hear your thoughts on those results. Please pop them in the chat as we move on. And Hugh's going to talk to us a little bit about following on from that now.
And thank you, Mark. And yes, really interesting feedback there. So thank you all very much. And what I want to look at here is just looking at some of those struggles that you've been identifying in that poll there. And really to have a look here about plugging the gap, about everyone's so short of time, and what can we do about that within organizations? And the first thing is really getting the most out of in-house expertise. So this is to do with getting your subject matter experts involved, because what we hear from so many of our customers in L&D teams is that the last thing they want is to be sent a whole bunch of PowerPoint decks, which then the L&D team has to convert into interesting e-learning courses. So really have a look at whether it's going to be possible to empower your subject matter experts to actually do it themselves. But for that, you're going to need to give them some content creation tools which are simple enough for them to pick up. Otherwise, you might as well have just done the whole thing yourself, and it's not really going to help you. You'll be back to being sent PowerPoint decks to convert again. But the key thing here is that if you do it right, and that you can get your SMEs involved, then have the double benefit of making your SMEs feel valued as well. So really have a look at the entire in-house expertise that you have. And the next thing is really being able to get content out there about creating it quickly and easily, because as Simon mentioned, for L&D teams that really focus on the quick wins and whether you can refresh and recycle existing learning content. And also to ensure that your team is able to create your learning for your company as quickly as possible, and just make sure you're getting useful stuff out there as soon as possible, and then you can refine it if necessary. And really, I think the message here is don't spend months and months on planning and creation of a big mega project. Just identify some crucial areas that you need to get training out there and get it done quickly and get it out there. Also, as part of that, then think about whether your authoring tool is really making your life easier, particularly if your resources are short, and consider about whether you can easily collaborate with your subject matter experts on the same platform. And from that point of view, can you all review and comment easily? And remember that you're trying to speed up getting content out to your learners. So you don't want to go through a really complex review process. You will want to be able to go in there, comment, make the changes, and get your courses delivered. But also look at speed, things that are going to really speed up your development. So, for example, can you set up branded templates to speed up the production? So you don't want your subject matter experts to have to spend lots of time reading company brand guidelines. Make sure you can set up those templates so it becomes really easy for the subject matter experts just to focus on the content, and then the tools should take care of making that all beautifully on brand, and again, so you can get it out there and approved. And also have a look at making sure you can reuse content and structures from one course to another. So each time you're not having to rebuild everything from scratch. Get those both visual templates set up, but also course structure templates set up, and reuse what you've already put valuable time into creating. And of course, the most crucial thing is, can you actually create visually engaging e-learning quickly? It's the thing that you're going to create, no matter how simple. Is it actually going to be something that's easy and attractive and compelling for your learners to actually want to look at? So bear those points in mind. So the two things about looking at the expertise that you have in-house, but then look at the tools that you have, and whether they're going to help you create the content as quickly and easily and get it out there as fast as you can. So I'm just going to hand back to Mark.
Thanks, Hugh. And obviously, guys, we've been gone quite deep there, and many of you in the L&D world thinking, yeah, this is stuff I need to be doing. I need to be able to create content quickly. It may not need to be as polished as before, but have I got the tools that will enable me to create really tidy, engaging content? Because I'm going to be delivering that message to my people, right? I want my people doing learning. I want them to know about this learning, and I want them to know they can grow at this company. That's the objective here of what we're trying to do. But what else is there? Obviously, again, I'm using this as my own experience of being a leader, and certainly some of the things that you can do right now without having to change too much. Some of the things that I can advise you to do is think people first. People first organizations create an environment that makes it fun to come to work. It makes it have that growth mindset of people. People want to come and work for you. You become a very attractive organization when you're a people first organization. And I even have an example of this. If you think way back, like this isn't a new concept, and I shared this in a webinar the other week. If we go back right the way back to the Great Depression in the US, and we've got Marriott hotels, and the depression was going on, it was hard to find work, and actually hard to find employees. And actually what Marriott decided to do was actually hire on-staff physicians to give healthcare to their staff for free. That was revolutionary and kind of revolutionized the way that businesses offer healthcare to employees in the US. That was a people mindset decision that they made, and it made them a very attractive place to come and work. And of course, they recruited very talented individuals to come and join them. So that's quite an extreme scenario, but any little thing you can be doing to be thinking people first, whether that is delivering extra content, extra opportunities for growth, whether it's just having more connection with people, giving them more time, giving them space, communicating more, those things are really going to help you drive on that initiative. Number two is managers. I work with my managers all the time, and I'm making sure that they are having conversations with their people. Number one reason being is that I know if a manager is having regular connection, and when I say connection, I don't just mean meeting to tick a box, I mean having meaningful connection. Are they talking to that person? Are they helping them? Are they unblocking them? Then that person is going to be 75% less likely to leave than somebody who's not having a conversation with their manager. Now that's a huge impact. And all you've done is encourage people to have more conversations. That's it. And can you facilitate those conversations? Can you guide them? Can you build resource packs for managers that help them have these conversations? So very simple things you can do, but just creating that culture of conversation and meaningful connection is incredibly valid. Empower people to grow. Make it very clear that you want people to grow here. Yes, of course, we're interested in current performance and effectiveness in the current role, but always have that conversation with people at the business and make it very clear that you want people to grow. because again, that makes you incredibly attractive from an employee's perspective to go, I don't need to go over there. I've got bags of opportunity here. I can go up, I can go sideways, I can develop my skills, I can think about my future. Again, it can be as simple as having conversations about this, leadership communication, create that culture. Of course, there's tools that help you do this kind of thing as well, but you may not need to go to that extreme. And of course, this one is really interesting. Don't look back. A lot has changed for us over the last 20 months, 2 years, right? We've been remote working. Some people don't want to go back. Don't force things upon your employees to go back to your old ways. If things that you've done right now are recognized by your employees, for the better. Use them to your advantage. Blend them with the way that you used to work. Don't feel that you have to default back to the old ways of working. It can be very, very valuable to take this opportunity as a strategic lift for you as a company to go in a new direction. And again, they're 4 of the things that I hope you can take from this and do right now off the back of some of the opportunities that Simon and Hugh have just shared as well in more depth. But again, we're not the experts here. We're living this just like you guys are. And of course, before we finish, I would love to hear any final thoughts from anybody on the webinar around how this is impacting them and what they're doing about it, because we want to learn as well, and we'd love to take that away. Thank you, Hugh.
And thank you, Mark. And we really hope that some of these areas that we've been discussing today have resonated with you. We can see from the poll results that these are really important things for all of us to consider. And as we close, I also want to say that if you wanted to find out more here, that we do have a free ebook available here about looking at being able to use your content creation tool to improve your return on investment, which is so crucial at the moment. So what I'm going to do is just pop that into the chat there. We have a link. And that should be coming through. You should see it in the chat panel there. And you can just copy that link, and that will enable you to download that ebook, which we hope that you'll find interesting. And also would say that if you'd like to find out more about how our Gomo platform could help you to address the challenges that we've been discussing today, then please do go to our website at gomolearning.com. And from there, you'll be able to actually set up a free trial of Gomo, so you can actually see in practice how Gomo might help you address some of these challenges. And also from the website, you'll be able to get in touch with us, share your experiences about these areas that we've been discussing. You can also email us at contact@gomolearning.com. So I'd just like to say thank you to Simon, and particularly to Mark for being able to join us today. And also to thank all of you for taking time out of your day. I realise that everyone's very pressurised for time at the moment, so we really appreciate you joining in today. And we look forward to you joining us on our next webinar. But for now, have a great day wherever you are in the world.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.